Howdy friends, welcome to Grow and Glow, the channel where we're going to grow together. And if you've clicked on this video, you want to learn how to grow potatoes at home. Now, it doesn't matter if you plan to boil them, mash them, or stick them in a stew, potatoes are a great and beginner-friendly vegetable to start growing. When planting potatoes, it's important to pick a place that has full sun. It's also extremely important to make sure that you have the right soil. Now, potatoes really like a good mix of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. And I know what you're thinking. This was meant to be an easy growing guide, and hold on, now you've got to be a scientist? Don't stress. All those elements can be found in any hardware bought fertilizer compound or just any kind of good garden compost that you can add to pretty much any kind of topsoil, and they'll do just fine. You can source your potatoes from a variety of places. You can even use ones that you brought from the grocery store. If you are going to do this route, I do suggest trying to get organic. Alternatively, you can find something at a local farmer's market. When you get your potatoes, you want to prepare them for planting. And what I mean by that is put them in a dry and dark spot for a few weeks. And what you'll notice is they start to shoot these little islets, just like that one there. This is the potato recreating its life cycle and getting ready to spread roots. You can cut off the top of a potato and just plant the top. If you want to try and plant more when they shoot more all over the potato, feel free. I just plant them whole, and I've found that that's the best success rate. But when they start shooting these, it's a good indication they're ready to go in the soil. Potatoes like to be dug deep, so you want to plant them somewhere where you have at least 15 centimetres that you can dig them down to. We'll come back to this later. Alright, so you've picked your location, the best spot anyone's ever picked to plant potatoes, you've sorted your soil, you've got them ready. Now what? Luckily, planting potatoes isn't exactly rocket science. You need your potato that's shot, and you want to dig a hole between 10 to 15 centimetres deep. Now they're quite forgiving, so don't stress too much if you're just doing it by eye. You take your delicious potato, you plonk it in, and you cover it with soil. It's as easy as that. Now you do want to plant them about 30 centimetres apart, and this is to avoid any congestion and competition, and you'll see what I mean about that later. Now, as always, when you plant anything, it's always important to water it in. So go give these guys a good water. Now, I'm going to share with you my top tip that's more than doubled our potato yield. You'll be growing so many potatoes, you'll be running up to random people on the street saying, "Please, take some of my potatoes." Follow me back to the garden bed and I'll show you. This is what our potatoes look like a couple of weeks in. You can see they're growing nicely. It's about 10 to 15 centimetres above ground growth. Big, nice, leafy greens, everything looks happy. Now, when they're at this stage, you actually want to rebury them. Go, take your soil, and just dump it on top of them. You're not going to hurt them, don't worry, you're not undoing your hard work. It's actually for their benefit, and I'll explain why. Remember how we said potatoes like deep soil? Well, this is those potatoes after I've reburied them. And you want to do this about 2 to 3 times. It does depend on the starting depth of the soil that you were able to put them in. If it was shallow, bury them more. If it was deeper, you'll get away with 1 or 2 times. The deeper the soil, the more your potatoes can spread out and grow bigger and give you a better yield. Now, if you've made it this far to the video, I'm hoping that you've planted some potatoes, which means in about 100 odd days, you'll be ready to harvest them. And when the plant starts looking brown and dying back a little bit, you're probably good to go. So dig them up, dig them deep, and you can start the whole cycle over again. Grab a couple, put them in a dry, dark spot, wait for those islets to form, replant them, and you can grow more and more and more and more and more potatoes and never have to buy any again. But I would suggest not planting them in the same spot over and over and over again, unless you're replacing the nutrients that the potatoes have taken out of that soil. I'm going to do a whole video on soil health and how to cycle plant. Now, if you've watched this whole video, please consider subscribing and liking so we can grow this channel and continue to grow together. I hope you've learned something and had a good time being here. I'll see you soon.